is Isabella. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a sophomore at Lane Tech.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lena. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior at Lane Tech.
If you're not familiar with TAP, it stands for the Teen Arts Pass. We're a program of arts, education, organization, urban gateways, and through TAP, anyone ages 13 to 19 can get $5 tickets to performances with our partner organizations and all around the Chicago area. Of course, there aren't any performances that we can see in person right now. So TAP and Urban Gateways are working on other ways to provide interesting and interacting art experiences for teens.
Yeah, and so Isabella and I are members of the Urban Gateways Teen Advisory Council, a group of 12 teens from Chicago that inform teen arts programs, including TAP. We are the group responsible for today's event, and there will be a lot more coming from us soon. So follow at Teen Arts Pass on Instagram, and be sure to sign up at teenartspass.org to get more information about all of our upcoming free events and programs for teens.
So what is this? Today we are at Hello I Am Conversations with Art Professionals, and it is a Teen Arts Pass Council initiative to connect teens with artistic professionals. The Teen Council wants to ensure that teens have the opportunity to hear about professional artists' journey in their artistic field, and we wanted to make sure that teens have a chance to ask questions and get information. So please take advantage of the Q&A feature. We'll be having a little bit of a Q&A at the end.
Yeah, and so I have the pleasure now to introduce our artist for today. So today we're joined by Alyssa Gregory, she, her, originally from Northern Virginia, who is a Chicago-based performer, choreographer, teaching artist, and arts administrator. She holds a BFA in dance and choreography from Virginia Commonwealth University and a master's in arts in performing arts administration from Roosevelt University. During her time in Chicago, she has worked with companies and artists such as The Moving Architects, Joanna Furnans, Kristina Isabelle, the Leopold Group, Jenn Freeman, and Erin Kilmurray. Her work has been presented at the Chicago Fringe Festival, Salonathon, the Fly Honey Show, and the Ruth Page Center for the Arts. Alyssa teaches dance all around the Chicagoland area and has worked as an associate choreographer for the Fly Honey Show for the past 4 years. Alyssa is the host of The Process, which is a podcast highlighting Chicago dancers and dance makers. And she's also a house Targaryen and is a proud Slytherin. Welcome, Alyssa. Hey.
Hello. Hi, friends. Hi.
Hello. Just to start it off, from your bio, you're obviously a fan of a lot of fandoms. So I was curious to know, what is your favorite Harry Potter book, movie?
Oh.
Are they the same? Okay. Are they different?
Okay, this is interesting because I was watching. I was watching the Harry Potter movies yesterday. I just happened to watch 3 of them yesterday. So my favorite book and movie are the same. It's the 4th one. It's The Goblet of Fire. Because it's the movie is closest to the book. They didn't change a lot. But my favorite fight scene is in the 5th one between Dumbledore and Voldemort in Order of the Phoenix. And I think the best, most tender story is in the 3rd one, Azkaban, with Harry and his Godfather series. I could keep going, but I won't. But that is where I stand.
Amazing taste.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know that the book to movie to book discussion is a huge part of Harry Potter discourse. And so, yeah, I've never really read all of the books. I gave up on the first one in 4th grade, but I'm a big fan of the movies, so I'm there with you.
There it is. You got something. Something is better than nothing.
Exactly. And so kind of transitioning the conversation more to your career and your journey as a dancer, can you tell us what about dance inspires you?
Man, that's That's a good question. I think there's a lot of things about dance that inspire me. I think the biggest thing about dance is that it fosters a lot of community. I took my first in-person class this morning for the first time in like 18 months. And like, I like legit almost cried on the dance floor. I was like, I like looked to my right and there's my friend Kaylin. And then I looked to my left, and then there's my friend Tia. And I was like, my friend Erin's teaching. And I was just like so much like happiness and community. And I think that dance provides that in a really particular way. And it also, for me, I think what's inspirational in dance is like, it forces you to be really vulnerable. Like you're putting your body in space, you know, you're using your body to emote and express, and there's all these things. So it's also really vulnerable, but there's like safety in that vulnerability that I think is really beautiful. And I think that dance is it's a sport, and it's like this beautiful art making craft, and that to me is also really inspirational, that like we are athletes and artists, and like we contain so many multitudes.
Definitely. That's awesome that you had your first in-person class as well, just kind of having that connectivity again.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So I'm curious as to how did you start like becoming a dancer? When did you start dancing? How did that sort of come about?
I started dancing when I was 5. And the story is that I turned 5, and I was a ballerina for Halloween. And so I like had like the tutu and the dress and like the whole like shebang, and like I wouldn't take it off. It was like immediately after school, I was like, let's change clothes, or doing dance, like putting this cut, and like I wore it into the ground. And my mom was like, well, maybe there's like something here. Like she's like, it's like, it seemed like it wasn't just a costume. Like it was like I put like a skin on, that I was like, this is it. I also was just I had thought about trying soccer, and then my mom was like, they play in the rain, and I was like, that's not great for me. I don't want to do that. So I started at 5 with just ballet, and my mom was like on the fence. She was like, I don't think this is gonna take. But I loved it. And like one class turned to 2, which turned to 3, which then I was like at my studio 5 days a week. And so then when it came time for college, it was kind of this thing where it was like, of course I'm going to go to school for dance. And then I got into college, and my first semester I was like, oh, I think I made a mistake. I think I majored in my hobby. And so I had always been a writer as well. And so then I was like, I'm going to be a journalism major. So I dropped dance and changed my major, and I was a journalism major for a year. And then I was like really unhappy with that track and like all kinds of things. And then I was like, I want to be a social worker. So then I was a social work major for a semester. And then I got it. I was like, actually, I'm really unhappy, and it's because I'm not dancing. So it took a break of a year and a half for me to realize that that's what I wanted. I had to, when you're doing something from 5 to like, I think at the time I was like, 21. It's like, this is all I've been doing. So I'm like, what else is there? But it just came back to dance. So, and then I graduated, and I didn't want to move to New York because everybody in my graduating class was essentially moving to New York. And I was like, I've been with you all for 4 years, and everyone else is going to be in New York. So I had a professor that is from Schaumburg and went to Columbia and danced here as well. And so he was like my ride or die. And so he like suggested for me to look at Chicago, and I came out here. My 10-year anniversary is on Sunday of living here. And it was wild. And I went out here for 1 week, and I looked at apartments, and I signed a lease, and then I moved here. So that's the journey.
That's so amazing. I was like trailing your story, and I was like, this is so cool. I also grew up in dance. I've been dancing since I was 3, kind of similarly with ballet. And as I'm older now, I reflect upon my dance experience from a multitude of perspectives. And I know personally for me and for a lot of my other peers, being thrown into this like hyper white atmosphere where there was so much pressure surrounding Eurocentric beauty standards and Eurocentric standards was really difficult for me to handle and address in my own life. And so my question is, do you want to share if you had similar experiences and what was your approach to confronting these feelings and experiences?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I was fortunate. The area that I grew up in, so I grew up in Northern Virginia, like 30 minutes from DC. And because of that location, I grew up around a really pretty diverse group of people. Lots of like ambassadors and, fun politics stuff was just, so I grew up in a really diverse area, but it was predominantly white. But I was really fortunate that my dance studio was very diverse. But diversity like doesn't mean that there's not a problem, right? So my head teacher, my artistic director, who I still very much care for, she like gave me all the tools. She was a hard one to like look in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was not okay. Oh, she did say that to me, and there was a lot of things to do with my body that was just my body. I have thick thighs. I got a big butt. Like like that is who I am. And a lot of my other friends that are black dancers as well, we're shaped the way we're shaped. And comments were made and comments were said. And I think because I was fortunate to not be alone in that space. We as a group were like, you aren't going to say that to me. Or like, well, that's just my body. Like, I can't stop my butt from growing. I can't, like, this is it. So you're either going to work with me and be okay with it, or that's just going to be actually a you problem, and of course, being an impressionable young teenager, it wasn't always a you problem. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be a dancer and like all of that. But I think when I got into college at VCU my class was really diverse also. We were the most Black class that VCU had in like years. And I think because when we walked in, we kind of like kicked the door and we were like, all of that's wrong. And like, this is it. And I'm going to take ballet in my head wrap and like, you're going to deal with it. And the teachers were like scared, like, and they were shook. And I think that, again, because I wasn't one and alone, I had, there's power in numbers, that also helped. And coming here to Chicago was a little different because Chicago, the dance community is predominantly white. And that was like coming from my dance studio and my college. And then I was like, wait, what is up here? And so that took some adjusting to figure everything out. But when those things come about, I think it's, for me, the biggest thing that I have gained and learned is like, I am right in standing and being confident in myself. There is room for me. You need to make the room for me. And if you don't, I will make the room for me. And that's full stop type thing. I think also with those standards of beauty and body and being so focused on Eurocentric stuff, like that is something that I like heavily work on in my dance teaching with my students. And if I hear a student to student say something, or a student says something to me, or another teacher saying something, like it just like comes out, I'm like, oh, we can't do this, or like that's inappropriate, and stopping those things.
Definitely.
Sorry, I'm a rambler also.
Oh,
I'm
no.
so sorry. You'll have to cut me off.
No, I really it's really important to stand up for yourself and, say like something's not right, and, be like, okay, well, that's not okay. You can't, feel that way. So kind of like continuing on that a bit, what advice do you have for dancers that feel discouraged?
You 100% belong. I think everybody's body is a dancing body. And I think that you belong on the dance floor, on the stage. I think you just belong. And again, like if you don't see yourself, that's on them. because they don't have the imagination to open up the doors for you. So you can either be really gracious and be like, hey, I want to be a part of this. How can we make this work? Or just be like, this feels like it's not my space. I'm not welcomed here. I'm going to go find my community and my group of people. Or I'm going to make the space for myself. There's this, I have this like saved tweet from Solange that I like go back to often, is like, make your own tables, make your own institutions. Like, that is just like the thing I go back to a lot, is like, all right, I don't see it. I can find people that want to be a part of what I see and what I'm doing, because everyone belongs somewhere.
Thank you for that answer. And it was really eye-opening. And as I've matured and grown older, like, I think that's so inspiring to hear. And I wish I was bold enough to be that person that you are right now, and that you were in school and in studios and in dressing rooms. And especially with the body image, it really touched me, because I think about how long I had to think about that, and feel like I was alone in a lot of these very, very normal progressions in life, and like puberty, and like being an actual human being and not looking like a 10-year-old prepubescent boy anymore. And like, I was like, what's wrong with me? But it's really refreshing to hear how you've grown through that and how you've made a space for that in your practice now. And so I think that's a great transition into talking more about the process. And I was listening to it all day, and I was just so inspired, and I kept just going into the artists that you were talking with, and it was just such an experience, just matching those like thought processes to like the actual art and work that was produced. And so I love how you emphasized, I think you said, a need for trust and camaraderie, and making this space for yourselves and other dancers of color, which is so absent in the professional dance world. And so I think big picture, my question is, where do you even start with this? How would you encourage each dancer to make this space wherever they are?
Oof, that's a big question. In terms of encouraging people to make space for themselves, is like, I made the process because I wanted to have this conversation. Like, I wanted to talk to other dancers and dance makers about making dance. And I didn't have, like, I would have these conversations with other dancers, like at the bar after a show, or like going, like going to get coffee, or, like we would have these conversations, or these conversations would happen inside when I was like in a rehearsal process. And so, but I was like, these conversations should happen and be heard for everybody, and not just dancers, but like visual artists and musicians and theater, like everybody could benefit from this conversation. So making that space for myself, it was like, I think it's also about like agency, of like, I have the agency to do this. I want to apply for the grant and get the funding and like build the team and everything, but being like, this is something that I want. And if you can like hold on and plan it out and be thoughtful about it and take your time with it, it can happen. It can absolutely happen. And like, nobody, I think like hearing the word no and the imposter syndrome just like go like hand in hand in my book. Like, I have talked myself out of things and been like, no, I can't do this because I don't know how to do it. And like, it's going to like, you just have to like, it sounds so cheesy, but like, you just have to believe in yourself. But you just like legit have to believe in yourself, and this making the spaces possible. And it's not easy. I also want to say, like, it is 100% hard, and like those like hits will come and you'll be like, ooh, I'll learn this lesson. Like, I've learned lessons the hard way, but those are knowledge. and taking that risk to get that knowledge is worth it.
Definitely. I'm like sitting here like just honestly. Kind of like, I know we talked like briefly about the process, but I wanted to know, how has the pandemic affected your job?
Oh God, it is just annihilated it. So I pre Panasonic, I was teaching like 15 dance classes a week. I was working 20 hours a week as the social media marketing manager for the dance presenting series with Columbia, and I was like in rehearsals. So like everything in my life was like very art, like it was all dance and all art, which is like exactly what I wanted. I was very fulfilled, but I was very tired also. And so teaching went remote, and then I ended up like, it was a whole thing, and I left a job and all this other kind of stuff. And then teaching just didn't feel, I learned in the pandemic that in person is really important for me when it comes to teaching. And that was a hard transition for me to go into Zoom teaching. And I just like, it was that surprised me personally, of being like, I actually surprisingly hate this. Like I hate teaching dance class over there. And with the dance center, because we didn't have any live shows, we were doing online programming, and eventually my position has been dissolved because there's just no need. So I've lost my job at Columbia. And then all of my gigs that, 2020 had lined up, were just gone. So it was a moment of just like, it felt like someone like snapped their fingers, and I was like, I have nothing to do. Oh my God. And it was really jarring. So work was just weird. It was just a lot of like, I was still, I until last week I was working for Columbia, but so it was just like, things were just really slow. And I think in that time of slowness, I learned how to prioritize work and rest. So like now coming, like, as we're, things are opening up, I'm also being really mindful about like how much I'm taking on work wise, and then how much rest that I'm actually like making sure that I do, because I pre Panda Express, like I would like didn't like rest was like something I felt like I had to earn. And now like I feel like work and rest are two things that have to go together so I can be successful.
That's really interesting. And I'm like trying to think about my own growth and changes in my thinking. And I think something you said in the process that really stuck with me was something about that project being something that you can track your growth with. And I just thought that was so interesting. And for a second, I was like, what can I track my growth during the pandemic with, and during this honestly horrible time for everybody? Like, and so I thought that was really interesting. And so more about choreography and in general, I think the process of creating like a dance work is so complex and adept, and very few people, I think, sometimes cherish the thought process and human behind the art, which I know is like the whole intent behind the process podcast. And so a question that I had about that was, how do we prevent the message and thought from getting lost in our artwork? And in that final transition piece, like when we translate our thought into our work, how do you task your dancers to be effective messengers of the piece's purpose? Because that's a lot of, I feel like that's a big role to pass on to dancers, to convey this really, really complex message in your thinking, and all of the toils that one plie means, and that one movement that means so many things in your life. And so how do you approach that?
Yeah, I like a lot of that's such a great question. Like, there is such a good question. I think I'm really fortunate that a lot of the work that I'm a part of is community, we build everything together. I like a communal process where we're asking each other questions, and we're like looking at each other and being like, what's my relationship to you? Like, we're not just like, we're both lifting our arm, but like, what's our relationship to each other? And like, I appreciate, one of the people that I work with the most is my friend Erin, and I love working with her for a lot of different reasons. But I like Erin's work because she always is like, who is this person to you? Who are you in this work? Who is this person? Like, what's your relationship with them, and them? And why is your relationship that, and that? And like, does it change inside the piece? And so the more that we like can work and like define our relationships, then the dance makes more sense to me. Because I'm clear about where I am and who I am. And then I can go out into whoever has come to see the show, and I can answer any question or talk about any moment, because I have like mapped out and gone through everything, every single part of this entire work is clear to me. So I think conversation inside of building is the key element of making that happen. And I think also in the rehearsal process, like, I think it's the job of the choreographer to facilitate a room that invites vulnerability, that invites that type of like, we are all people. Some of us took the bus, some of us drove here, some of us ate breakfast, some of us didn't. Here's where we are today. That's great. We can make this work, and so like meeting each other where we are is also really, I think, important too. And when it comes to choreography, because we like all contain so many multitudes, so it's impossible that every single day we're going to be the same. And honoring that, I think, is also really important.
Yeah, just like the complexities of being human, and making sure that everyone's in phase with each other. And yeah, I really like what you said about making sure that the person who's like in charge pretty much is the one, making sure that is a space where everyone feels comfortable, because I think that's definitely really important.
Yeah.
I want to know what's next for you.
I'm working on volume 2 of the process. So my goal is every 4 to 6 weeks to release a volume. So every volume will have 3 episodes in it. And what I'm really I love my co-producer, her name's Anjul Chande. You guys should totally look into her, and she's like got a space in Pilsen, and she's really great. But I love working with her because she keeps me focused. I'm an air sign, I'm a Libra. I can just like tra la la all day long. And Angel's like, what did we learn from making volume 1? And I'm like, because I was like 3 weeks ago, be like, let's ask the volume 2 guys, like, let's go. And she was like, we should get volume 1 out, and then we should learn, like, listen to ourselves and learn. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I'm just ready to go. And I was like, okay, that is smart. So we met yesterday, and so I'm getting volume 2, getting that whole train going. So that's what I'm looking the most forward to at the moment. I'm going back to teaching starting next week. There's a studio in Skokie that a new studio called Insight that I think is going to be lovely. It's a queer owned business. It is very gender inclusive. Like, it is just, I'm so excited for the studio. And really honored to be on the staff. And I don't have any like dancing coming up, and like for the first time in a really long time, I'm kind of okay with that. I think that took me a while to actually like say that sentence, but like, I don't know when I'm going to perform again, and I think that's okay. I'm it's not saying that I like don't ever not want to, but having the process and having teaching is like really fulfilling. And I want to honor my energy and my like all of my stuff like towards the process and my teaching right now. Because I want to be the best teacher I can, and I also want to. The process is a really tender project, so I just want to do it the right way.
That is so amazing. I'm so excited for you, and I'm excited for me too, because the process is so amazing and it's introspective and engaging, and it's so I would suggest to everybody go listen to it and then check out the piece that they're talking about, because it is such a like an experience of like matching the thought behind the work and the work and like understanding what each thing means and movement means and intention means. And so I would totally recommend everybody go check it out. I will definitely be tuning in for volume 2. And
Thank
so
you.
yeah, I think we're at our time. It feels like we've been talking for like 5 minutes, I swear. This has been
Yeah,
so much
wow.
fun. But I have had such a great time talking with you, Alyssa, and I'm so excited for you. And thanks to Isabella, my host and partner in crime. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And I hope everybody has a great night. So thank you, Alyssa, again. And thanks everybody.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.